there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel and welcome to what used to be known as 31 Days of Cut Files. It is no longer 31 Days of Cut Files. It is now a class called Cutfile Confidence. So in order to take part in the class, you actually need to pay for the class, and then you'll get access to all of the cut files as well as some additional items, which I'm going to go over those here in just a moment. But the first half of working with the cut files is going to be available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on YouTube for free. But you don't have access to the actual cut files. You can use whatever cut files you want and play along if that's something that you want to do. But the cut files are all exclusives that MK or I designed, and the class will go in through September and into October, using the remaining cut files that you're not going to see here on YouTube. So we just keep building and building as we go along throughout the month. I will show you the kit here. There are a total of 25 cut files. The first 13 you're going to see here on YouTube. I'm just going to try and pull out the first one here. It is called Teamwork, and you're not seeing the R and the K because it's in this little baggie here, but it's got two little characters there helping each other build. So I'm going to go ahead and use that today. And then it does come with this Vicky Bouton frame set, which is mostly neutrals, which is great because neutrals can be used for everything, right? It does have some little pockets and I think these are called book plates, and what looks like little postage stamps. So it comes with that. And then it also comes with this paper, which is the first time I'm opening it. Apparently I need scissors because my hand is not working properly, which will make backing cut files lots of fun. So this is the cover sheet, but it's no waste packaging. So we've got all kinds of labels on the back that you can use in your layouts or in your scrapbooking or whatever. We have this beautiful orange. They're all single-sided, so you don't have to pick. A beautiful dark blue, maybe indigo color, which has lots of texture on it. I love the textures on all of the papers. Lots of textures. This turquoisey teal green color. A purple that kind of leans towards a pinky purple in some areas, but also a really dark eggplanty purple in other areas. So trying to give you lots of ways or lots of color to back your cut files with potentially. If you know anything about MK or myself, we don't use a lot of cardstock. I actually don't use any cardstock except black and white, and everything else is something that reads like a solid. So to me, these read like solids. So we've got some different depths of color here in the reds. You can go with the darker, richer red, or you can go with the more candy apple red. Beautiful yellow. Some leaning more towards sunshine, some leaning towards a little more mustardy, or I would say that's mustardy. It's not quite butter. And then we have this rainbow piece that has all the colors included on it. And so that's what the class involves. Besides the 25 cut files, you get these papers. There are actually 3 additional papers that are wood grains from Ella and Vive. They are not in this pack. This is my extra pack, I think. Let me see if I've got them here. Yes, I do. I have them here. No wonder my other pack was not open. So there are 3 additional papers here that are just wood grains that are going to give you some ideas or some ways to use wood grain. Let's see here. And I believe we're going to be using these mostly in the private class, not in the YouTube videos. So here are the 3 wood grains that we've got going on. 3 very different tones, a kind of charcoal, a really dark burnt umber maybe, and then more of a lighter golden brown there. So that's what the class kit involves. It's available in digital format, and we still send you, of course, the papers and the frames but you get the files digitally so you can resize them to meet your needs, or you can use them as they are, sized in digitally. The other option would be to get the physical one, which comes with this package, including the physical cut files that are already pre-cut, ready to go for you, so you don't have to do anything except use them. The whole goal is to use them. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Today, I'm using this Cutfile Teamwork, and I packed a kit because I thought I was going to be using it at a retreat when we did our Wyoming treat earlier this month, but or earlier in July, but yeah, it didn't happen. I never got around to this one. We had so many other things going on. But I have these these are 49 in Market from the 6x8 sheet. This is from one of our cruise kits. It's a leftover piece. So I thought this would be great to go ahead and back my cut files. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be doing the tracing. I'm going to trace them and cut them. And that is one method of doing your cut files. It is not the only method. We will be showing more as we go along, but we're going to go into some depth here on how to do this. I'm not going to show you the entire cut file, how to do it, but I will show you the first couple in real time, and then I will show you the rest in fast forward. I'm just looking for the K here. It's here. The K and the R. So I'm going to start with those two because those are the easiest to hold up to the screen. It doesn't involve using holding the whole cut file up. So we have an R and a K. There's two different ways of doing this. Actually, there's a couple of different ways of doing this. So for the ease of doing it and not having to think much, you could just trace the inside and then cut a little larger so it leaves a lip for you to glue it to the back of the cut file. The problem with that is then you have a pencil line that you have to make sure is covered up. So the easiest way is to flip it over. And I like to do it so I'd have to make as few cuts as possible. So I'm going to line it up on the edge because then I don't have to cut that edge. And then I'm going to just trace around the inside of the cut file like so. And then I will cut it. The other way of doing it would be to take the letter K, and this you have to make sure you get your letter the correct way. So that's another thing to think about. So that's the correct way. I want to put it face down just like I did the last one, and I want to cut the letter K. Now I'm going to trace it, but I want to cut it a little bit bigger, so I'm leaving a little bit of room at the top because that is going to be the line that's as big as I can cut it. Like, I can't make it bigger. So I'm not going to cut the top off. I'm going to just leave it like that because then I have this little tiny lip to go behind the K. So not everybody likes using super large scissors for this kind of stuff. I don't mind it, obviously. So that's what I'm using. You could go smaller if it bothers you. And you can see here the lip that I'm making is not that much bigger. It's just a little bit because you don't want to have to go and trim it off the edge of your letters when it's sticking out on the wrong side of your letter. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. I hope you can see that. I hope it's actually easy enough to see. Okay, so there's my K, and then I'm going to just dry fit it because, you know, I don't want to have to go trimming off a bunch of extra. Since my corners are rounded on my letters, I might have to trim the little point off, but I think that's going to work beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and use some glue to glue that on there and call that one good. So I always recommend doing it from the back if possible, so you don't have to erase the line of where you traced, but in some cases it is easier to do it the other way. Like if you're trying to really sort out a specific pattern on your solid paper, like if you really wanted to get, say, maybe like this little stamped area in there, then it would be easier to like make sure that you get that if you can see where the opening is. And then you can see I'm just going to take my scissors at about a 45-degree angle and trim off anything that's sticking out, just these little corners, and then be sure that you don't accidentally get the neighboring letters involved when you're doing some trimming. So that is it for that one. Let's go ahead and cut out the R. Now the R is going to have a centerpiece, so I need to account for that also. We'll mark that out in just a moment here. Okay, we've got that going on. And then the R centerpiece. Okay. Now actually I need to look and see if the R has a solid center, because if it's a solid center I don't need to cut it. It might just be, yeah, it is a solid center. You can see it right here. It's a solid center, so I don't need to cut it. But in the event that you do need to cut it, I do it on the back, and then I would use a cutting mat and a blade. This is a little Fisker's blade, and I would cut to the inside, because remember you want to have your outline, you need something to glue to, so just to the inside of that. But I'm not having to do that because when I designed this cut file, I was smart and left it a solid piece, because that's a lot easier to manage. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on there. And then I'm gonna get out that little R centerpiece. I actually have 2 packs of the insides of this one, just for the sheer fact that I think I will cut an extra one somewhere along the line. And then if you want to be super exact, you can put your R back in, put a little glue down, and then put the center of your R back in. You can also eyeball it. You do not have to be so exact if you don't want to. Personal preferences. Okay. Pull that off, and there we go. Perfectly backed. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on fast forward and back the rest, so that we're not spending all day just backing a cut file to do this layout. Okay, I have sped this up quite a bit, and it's going to go by really quickly, but I'm going to go ahead and back it using the same paper. And you know, it's kind of interesting because to create a big title, you really just don't need a lot of extra papers to back it. I feel like I really prefer going through my scrap bin to do that before I cut into a 12 by 12, because it's going to save you quite a bit, and oftentimes there's a lot in there that works. In my scrap bin, I just kind of go for the color that I'm looking for, and a lot of times the pattern or the pieces that you're backing with are so small that you don't actually even see the pattern on the paper. Now this one is primarily blue, but down the road later in the class you're going to see me use other papers that do have patterns, and they're not super obvious unless it's something like a pinstripe or something like that, or something that is I don't know, really small and repetitive. You're not going to see a whole lot of the pattern. So this works great. It is also a great way to use up papers that you pick up your leftover mixed media with, because you know you're going to get lots of color there, but you're not going to have to worry about the pattern showing. So as you can see here, I took these 2 papers. Both I believe are from Heidi Swap. They are from the Set Sail collection, and I am going to be documenting some teamwork that MK and Joni and I do each time we do a Scrapping on a Ship cruise. And we are actually standing in front of the conference room, and it says welcome, and I don't even know what it says, who it says welcome to, but it's not our group. So we were like, what on earth? Why is our group name not up there? Anyway, and it takes a lot of teamwork to do the cruises that we host and the classes that MK and I host, including this class. So I just wanted to document the teamwork that we do to make all of these things happen. We really, really enjoy it, and we hope that you guys love it too. And that's the reason we do it, because, you know, we love it, and we hope you do too. So that's what I'm documenting. That paper, you can see that had a piece cut out of it. I went ahead and just tore it. My photo is going to go smack in the middle. I figured this was a great paper to use because I'm going to be able to cover that up. I do have multiple sheets of it, but I figured, why cut into a 12 by 12 when I have a piece that already has a chunk taken out of it and I can just cover it up. And then if I want to reuse something off the back of it, I have the whole sheet again. But I do love the blue of it, and it's perfect for a cruise layout. I am using a whole bunch of Aall Create stamps, as well as one Arden Creative Studio stamp. So I have the Arden Creative one is their Charted Adventures from their Maker series. And then I have the Aall Create Torn Prints, Aall Create Stained Geometry, Stamp and Seek is another one. Flight Marks is another, Stamped Stories, and Explorer's Layers, and then lastly, the Squared Digits. So I'm using a whole bunch of stamps to do some mixed media on this blue paper. My main reason for doing it is it felt really clean, and I felt like it really needed to be kind of grungy. The blue mixed media is already done for me on the background, and I thought the stamping on it would really just kind of grunge it up. The Cutfile feels like it has a mechanical feel to it because they're trying to lift that W using the pulley, and I just thought this would go really well. Also, I wanted my title to stand out a little bit. It probably stands out just fine on the blue, but I felt like it just needed something back there. It was missing something. So this is what I chose to do, and it does take me a while, but I really like the way that it ends up turning out. And yeah, it's just kind of a fun way to get a different look or a different feel for your background. Lots of stamped images. You can make your own backgrounds this way. MK and I have actually taught how to do this in prior classes, but I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying the whole process. So this video is a little bit longer because, as you can see, this process does take a little bit longer to do than if I would have just stuck everything down on top of my plain piece of paper. But I like the outcome, and I hope that you do. I am using archival ink from Ranger because then I know that it's not going to run or smudge if I decide to add anything else over the top. Now at this point I'm not thinking I'm going to add anything else, but I end up in fact adding some new to me products. These are not new on the market or anything. They are from Paper Artsy. They are their Matins, and they are kind of like an acrylic paint. I don't even know, but they are very transparent. And so I'm adding some of that on here, just using my palette knife to give it some depth of color and make it a little bit more moody and grungy. Yeah, they go on, like I said, very transparent, so you can still see all of the stamping right underneath. And it just gives it a different feel and makes it feel a little bit moodier. So I have Greenstone, and River Deep is the other color, and then I also pulled out a third one, and it is called it's called Shadow. I had to like remind myself. This is the first time I've actually used them. I really like them because of their transparent quality, and I think they look really pretty. So I'm just adding a little bit more of one of the colors that I've already applied, just to give it a little bit more depth of color, and I really like the way that that turns out looking. So this is a really different kind of a layout for me. It's not something that I do often, but I like the look of it. So I am also now adding a little bit of white acrylic paint, and that's going to lighten up some of the areas. And then I thought it was too light, so I went back over it with the Matins, and I believe that was the one called Shadow, to kind of gray it out a little bit so it's not quite in your face. And then I'm going to back my photo with a piece of paper that I used. It's a leftover piece of paper actually from another layout that I did, and it was one where I used it to pick up extra mixed media from doing a different complete layout. So like I said, those kind of bits and pieces work wonderful to even back your layouts with, or not your layouts, your cut files, or to even just make as part of your layers behind your photos for your photo mats. And then I pulled out several pieces of the 49 and Market Everywhere collection, which is what our cruise kit was based off of. We had some Heidi Swap set sail in there as well. So between the two, I think it's doing a good job of going with all of my other cruise layouts, and that's where this layout is going to end up in one of my cruise albums for this particular trip. I think I'm up to 3 albums for it right now, 2 or 3 albums. Admittedly, I have a few layouts to put away, so it may not be 3 albums yet, but it will be shortly, as soon as I take the time to put them away. So now I'm just trying to figure out where I want to add some more stuff. I want to add some more depth of color down below the layout because that bottom paper is very light in color. I want to add some of the darker colors, and then I'm adding some labels so I can do a little bit of writing. I do also like the top of the 3x4 card that I've got sticking out under the word team. It is about, letting the adventure begin, basically. I don't know if that's actually what it says. I'll have to look. I do have the layout right here. So it actually does say, it's an adventure kind of day. So if you're on a small screen and you might not be able to see that, that's what it says. And I'm liking that. I think it looks really good. This little piece says captured moment, and then I'm going to add another one of those at the top here, and it says the very best. We really had fun doing these cruises, and we have another one coming in 2027. There is a wait list for it, but they do sell out pretty quickly because they're very limited on space, but we love doing them. So if that's something that you're interested in, keep your eyes out because you never know when we're going to post a new one. And then I'm just fussy cutting some pieces. I thought that luggage might work somewhere, but no, it did not. I decided not to use it, but I did use the bottom part of this 3x4 card, and I'm going to use the top part that actually does say adventure, but I'm going to cover up the adventure part so it's not repetitious, and I'm going to use it to bring some color up to the top as well. And I'm kind of really loving how this is going together. The sand dollars were gifted to me by my friend Stephanie, so shout out to Stephanie Olson for gifting those to me. They were part of a cruise swap, but then she actually gifted me more because I was like, I definitely need more of these in my life. And they are from a Stampin' Up set, an embossing folder and die set, which I don't have the name in front of me to tell you what that is, but they are, I don't think they're still available. So anyway, if I find them available, I will link it down below. So now I'm just roughing up the edges of everything and going to go ahead and start gluing things down. And with mixed media, I always like to use my liquid glue because I feel like that's going to hold better. And I'm going to stick all of that down and just give it a little bit of added pressure there with my acrylic blocks that always act as my third hand to kind of hold things down and flush while my liquid glue sets up. Now I did decide to go in and give my cut file a little bit of a blackened outline around it by just inking it up the edges. And I'm going to go in, you're going to see me go in here and darken up the little people on it. And I kind of wish I hadn't done that in retrospect, but I'm going to leave it and live with it as it is. If I really, really hate it, I can always go back in with some acrylic paint, some white acrylic paint, and just go right over the tops of them to make them stand out white again. But I kind of felt like they were a little bit lost in there and needed something. The black just didn't work out as I had expected, but you know, I'm not gonna like start over and tear it all apart or anything like that. It wasn't that upsetting to me, but I'm kind of like living with them with a little bit of a black shadow on them at the moment. But I may end up going in, like I said, and end up adding the white again, or maybe a different shade of blue. I'm not really sure. I can't use the same blue that is in the word teamwork, because then the little guy sitting on the top is not going to show. I'd have to use a different shade of blue, but I don't want it to blend in with the background. So I'm kind of just thinking about that as it just lives on my shelf here, and we'll see what happens. But for right now, I might just be too lazy and just leave it as it is. So when I'm aligning this, I'm using my T-square ruler because that O is set up higher, and that gives me the baseline for the team and the R and the K, and that way I can make everything nice and level. And then I am inking up the outside of the top portion, but not the bottom portion, just because that's the grungy piece of paper and I feel like it needed a little bit more grunge. The bottom portion I'm not inking at all. I'm going to leave it just as it is, nice and pretty and plain. And I am going to go ahead and add a label up top there, just to kind of have your eye flow from the top all the way down to the bottom of the page. It gives your eye just a little bit of extra movement, and it makes the top feel like it's not left out, to me anyway. And so that's what I'm doing there. And you can see I am covering up the word adventure, as I mentioned before. While I do that, I want to remind you to go check out MK's channel and see what she's got going on using the same cut file. If you are interested in the Cutfile Confidence class, again, I'm sure I mentioned this at the beginning, but again, the link is down below for that in case you're interested in signing up and joining in the fun, because not only do you get all of the cut files, you get the whole kit that I showed at the beginning, and several classes in a Zoom session with MK and myself. So showing you more and more ways to use your cut files, different things you can do with them. So that is it, you guys. I'm going to, oh, it's not it. I'm going to put a sketchy outline around that same top paper just to make it even more grungy, but not along the bottom paper. The bottom paper is staying pristine and perfect. And that's it. I really do like how this ended up coming out. I hope that you did too. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And I would love if you leave any comments or questions down below. I do respond to all of them, even though sometimes it takes me a bit of time. Thanks so much for watching and spending time with me today. And I will be back again on Wednesday with another cut file from the Cutfile Confidence class. So I hope you come back and join me then, and we can learn a different way of backing a cut file. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys again real soon. Bye-bye.